slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
What I wish I knew before running my first half marathon. That is the topic of today's video. I ran my first marathon when I was in college at Malone University. I was coached by one of the world's top distance running coaches, Jack Hazen. Jack's been at Malone, I believe now, for over 56 years. And he's not the head coach anymore. He's kind of like a mentor to the other head coaches and assistant coaches there. But he's a legend in the sport. And Coach Hazen kind of gave me gave me a lot of mentorship in terms of running longer distances. But some of the things that I really wish I knew before running a half marathon is the amount of faster long runs that are needed to run a really quick half marathon, and also running more volume. I wasn't running enough volume really in college at that time. You know, I was running maybe 50 to 60 miles a week. And I don't think I was actually prepared to. I ran 1:13 for the half marathon. It was in Cleveland, and I qualified for the NAIA Marathon National Championships with that time. I needed a time of 1 hour, 15 minutes flat or faster. But at that time, the reason why I didn't go to I ended up not competing at the NAIA National Championships for the marathon, because I just did not feel like at that time that I was prepared to handle 26.2 miles. I mean, I didn't end up running my first marathon until several years after I graduated from college. Actually, 2 years after I graduated from college. I graduated from Malone in 2000 and ran my first marathon at the 2002 New York City Marathon as a part of a lung cancer research armed forces team. We were basically put up in the Plaza Hotel in New York City for a week. And we started in last place, 32,189th place, and we weren't allowed to start the race until every runner had crossed the start line. And for every runner that we passed, Chase Manhattan Bank was donating $1 to lung cancer research. So I ended up going from dead last, 32,189th, to finishing as the team's top finisher in 257th place in 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 36 seconds. So I say that because, again, the marathon is a different race. It's a different animal. And I just did not think that I had that type of strength to run the marathon at the NAIA National Championships. I believe it was in 1997 or 1998 that I ran my first half marathon. But I do believe that some of the things I wish I knew before running my first half marathon was just the importance of hydration. I was not drinking enough in my half when I ran that 1:13. Back when I was about 21, 22 years old, somewhere around there. But I know I wasn't drinking enough. I know I wasn't paying attention to the tangents in the race. I wasn't thinking about how can I run the least amount of distance in this race versus my competition. Okay, so I always tell runners, make sure that you pay attention to running the tangents in your race. And what I mean by that is you're running. If there's a right-hand turn coming up, get to the far right of the road. Don't run to the far left. If you're running in a group in the middle of a road, you are still saving energy, so that is smart. But again, if you have a right-hand turn coming up, just make sure you're not spending too much time on the far left-hand side of the road. Get to the side of the road that you know those turns are coming up. You want to make sure you're at those sides of the road, so that again you're not running more distance than you need to. Another thing I wish I would have knew before running my first half marathon is the importance of staying relaxed. I was still too uptight, still too stressed out going into my races in college, high school and college. Really, I was way too stressed out. And again, even if you're much more experienced now in the sport, always remember the least amount of stress, both mental as well as physical, you're going to perform better. Okay, you don't want to place any additional undue stress on yourself, especially mental stress, because again, that affects your whole body physiologically as well as, obviously mentally as well. So I wish I would have known before running my first half marathon the importance of how running relaxed, running positive, being confident in yourself. Not that I wasn't confident in myself, but again, I was still placing a little too much emphasis on did I do enough? Who's in this race? How fast have they run? I wish I would have known that. Just not paying attention to those negative stressors that have no factor on how I personally am going to run. Okay, if you place too much emphasis on what the weather's like, who's in the race, have I done enough mileage? If you're confident and you've put in the hard work and you've done enough mileage and you've done enough hard anaerobic training as well as aerobic training, then you don't have to worry so much about the what ifs. Okay, you have confidence in what you're doing. You have an inner belief in the amount of mileage and workouts that you've put in to be fully ready to run a half marathon. When I ran my first half marathon when I was a part of the Malone University track and field team and distance team, I really didn't know what I was doing in those particular events. I was really focused at that time on the 1500, running cross country, 8K, and 5,000 meters. I never ran the 10,000 meters in college, never ran an 800 meter in college. I ran 2 minutes flat for the 800 meter when I was in high school, but never ran it in college. A lot of things I wish I would have focused more on those raw speed workouts, so I could have got maybe in the 153, 155 range for 800 meter, which again, you always want to work on your speed in these longer races, even for a half marathon. I wish I would have known before running my first half marathon the importance of really working on your leg turnover, really working on your overall leg speed. And again, I was focused on improving on those particular aspects of training, but in these longer races, you still really need to pay attention to, like I mentioned, staying as relaxed as you can, working on the shorter races. Get as fast as you can, the 800, 1500, 3,000, 5,000. Get as fast as you possibly can in those particular races. Also, not running a half. I ran my first half marathon. I believe it was my sophomore year in college. Maybe I would have aimed for the national NAI marathon championships when I was a senior at Malone, and maybe aiming for. So I guess that was another thing I wish I would have known before running a half marathon, is maybe waiting till my senior year to really focus on qualifying for the NAI national championships for the marathon and going after the marathon as a senior rather than when I was, say, a freshman or a sophomore, which I believe it was either my freshman year or sophomore year I ran the 113. So at that time you needed 115 flat. And I know and they also had qualifications, like you had to run a specific time in the marathon as well to qualify for the NAI national championships for the marathon. But I qualified with the half marathon standard, which was 1 hour, 15 minutes flat, as I mentioned. And so I think those are some of the things I really wish I would have known before running a half marathon. Also, the importance of mental training. At that time, I was not really so much focused on mental rehearsal and really visualizing myself performing at a high level as a long distance runner. I was really always focused on physical training, and I made the mistake that a lot of runners around the world routinely make, and that's just spending all their focus and time on physical training. You do have to spend some time visualizing and training your subconscious mind to get hardened just like your physical body. Okay, so you do have to train both the body as well as the mind to really perform at a high level. Okay, and a lot of runners, they don't necessarily always have to focus on that mental rehearsal, because again, when you're training out, in the heat, or when you're training at high altitudes or at sea level and you're doing harder anaerobic workouts, that definitely still toughens the mind. You still have to be mentally strong to be able to handle doing track sessions by yourself, when you're doing fartlek workouts by yourself, or if you're in a group and you're doing a tempo run or you're doing repeat 400s with a group. It takes mental toughness. You have to stay strong mentally as well to handle running at fast anaerobic effort. So in a way, physical training does complement your mental training in that respect, but also if you add on visualization that's something I wish I really would have known and before running my first half marathon, is the power of mental training. So please keep that in mind as you train for your future races as well. Spend a few minutes before you get up in the morning or before you go to bed at night, visualizing yourself performing at a level and running the times you are aiming for. Okay, again, it does help train the subconscious mind as well as train your body with physical training to get to that level that you're aiming for. So I hope this video on some of the things that I personally wish I would have known before running my first half marathon has been helpful for you. Definitely let me know in the comment section below what your current half marathon best is currently and what is your long-term goal for the half marathon. I'd love to hear that. And if you have any other questions, concerns, definitely leave a comment. I'll definitely reach back out to you. Check out the resources below all of my videos. They're there to help get you to the next level in terms of your training, health, and wellness as well. So thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.